So let's talk about Asian entertainment in Hollywood.
Okay.
So BTS, big name, of course.
Yeah.
Huge name. So they open the doors for a lot of Asian born and raised artists to make their way here in the States.
Right.
What do you think about them in particular spoke to the U.S. audience?
Interesting question. I had my father was a huge music fan, and when he was still alive, we had like nights and nights of conversation just talking about music. And one of the things that I actually asked him, I said, what do you think made, at that time BTS wasn't a group yet, but I did ask him, what do you think made the Beatles so big? All over the world, not just in America, not just in Europe, but all over the world. What was it with that band that made it tick with the market? And he said that there's a lot of smart people in the industry, and if there's a formula, somebody would have found it already.
Yeah.
And they would have just duplicated it many, many times. So the mere fact that the Beatles would only come like every 50 years, or the Michael Jacksons of this world would only come every once in a lifetime, or maybe once in 3 lifetimes, or something like that. So he said that it's a sign that there is no formula.
Yeah.
I think what really makes it tick is not the individual talents, and it's not the individual personalities, but whatever it is that makes them work together. And it doesn't always fit perfectly for every group.
Yeah.
So for the Beatles, when they work together, it is whatever it is that they created that actually made them tick. And for BTS, it's what they created together as 7 that made it work, that spoke to the US market. And I know that there's a lot they've created such great messages. There's a lot of stigma behind mental health in Asia. So they were practically, I think, just based on my research, they are the first group that actually named depression in their song. Like they actually pinpointed it. They called it depression. And it's not the first time someone has written about it. It's the first time that they actually said it. Like, we're naming it, which makes it like more physical for people. So I think that's part of it, and I think just the sheer talent of the 7, and all of them are smart.
Yeah,
I have never seen a group where there's not one single member who's not so smart. All of them are super smart. But I think, and all of that would add up together. But I think more than anything, it's whatever it is that they create as 7, which you can't sort of manufacture.
Yeah, that's art, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just magical.
Yeah. So all of these accusations of the groups being manufactured, it's not, because if they can manufacture BTS, they would. The Beatles, they would manufacture.
Yeah, and I would be in line to try to get myself in that machine.
Right. I'll be right behind you.
Yeah, there we go. So do you think their success can be replicated on that note?
No. I don't think, the same way the Beatles' success was never replicated, the same way Michael Jackson's success was not and will never be replicated. And you can go down the list of a very few. It's a very exclusive group.
Yeah.
And I think the same way Beyonce's success will never be replicated. I don't think BTS's success will ever be replicated. There might be somebody else.
Sure.
It will be successful, but it won't be like what they created. Now it's just a matter of discussing what it is that success that they created. But that will never be replicated. So there will never be a next BTS, there will never be a next The Beatles, there will never be a next Beyonce, or Michael Jackson,
or Prince,
or just, give up. There will never be another.
Yeah, you can only just be yourself anyway.
Right.
Yeah. Well, so now that BTS is taking a break, do you think it will halt Korean or Asian-born artists from making their way into the U.S. market?
Everyone's panicking actually when they announced that they were going to take a break, which wasn't really taking a break. Like, they're not going to do anything as a group anymore. I think they're just going to do like individual projects
for a bit.
For a bit before coming together again. There's two sides to it, and I always say if Asian, my dog is moving the camera, she's becoming the cameraman. If that stops, the more Asian artists, Asian born and raised artists coming here, if that stops because they take a break, it will put their work in vain.
Yeah.
Because the biggest thing that they did outside of delivering the message of mental health and other issues is highlighting those messages, is to actually open the doors for Asian artists. So if nobody else follows, it will be what they did will be in vain.
Yeah, it would be an open door that no one used.
Yeah. On the other hand, working in the industry, you know how very cliquish the industry is, and a lot of Asians actually get angry whenever they say that there can only be one at a time, like one Asian.
Right.
Yeah, like no, there's already BTS. They won't welcome anybody else anymore. So that is a huge possibility that the cliquish group will come back and say, you know what, you've had your time.
Hopefully not.
Hopefully not, but that's a huge possibility. So to answer your question, do I think it's going to help? I think it's going to slow down. It's going to slow down, but that door is now open.
Yeah,
everyone should just rush into that.
Yeah, run while you can. Do you think that, or why do you really think it's been so hard for people born and raised in Asia, artists specifically, to make it here?
Language, culture, and aesthetics. I think one of the puzzling thing about BTS making it in the US is that outside of their 2 singles or 3 singles that were in English, the rest of their discography was actually in Korean.
Yeah.
And that's not a very easy language to learn. But they made it. So I think people were just sort of relying on the subtitles to understand their song.
Yeah.
So, but it's not always easy. You know, if you're immersing yourself in art, you kind of just want to relax and just let it come to you. But when you don't understand half of the aspect of that art, then you have to actually actively search. Then it becomes a work instead of becoming like a relaxing thing.
But maybe in that investigation, you sort of appreciate the artist more because you have to learn more about them rather than be a passive listener.
Yeah. Because another thing that I realized is that even if you're able to translate something into English, you will never be able to fully capture the sensibility.
It's not the same.
So, and I guess it's the same thing for English to other languages. You might be able to translate it, but the sensibilities are different.
Yeah.
So that's one hindrance. Second would be just the culture of what we do. A lot of the things, it's art, so it actually is a reflection of who you are, and culture is part of who you are. And it's our culture is not easy to understand, especially Asia, because there's so many in one country, and then there's so many countries in one continent.
Yeah.
So that in itself, when we show up, when BTS shows up in Billboard, and they were bowing to everybody, nobody could understand why they were bowing to people. But you go to Korea, everybody bows to everybody.
Yeah, it's part of the
right. Yeah,
it's normal.
Yeah, thing. And then there are certain things that they say that nobody understands. You know, things like that. And then the aesthetics, which are our concept of what's beautiful, is just so different from what I think. The West is so put together. Like, you're so clean in your aesthetics. Everything is so balanced, and you go to Asia and there's like 5,000 different colors in one frame. But you know, just there was a culture shock in how BTS looks, because they look, in some of Westerners' words, they look so feminine, right? They had thick makeup, they had like styled hair, and they're so that in itself, and you can't blame the West, because that's what they're used to, right? So you also have to give them the time to adjust and understand that this is how Asia is, and you know. So I think those 3 are the main reasons. And then there's just the cliquish Hollywood. A lot of people there, they're just used to working with the West, so they want to work with the West.
Yeah.
So maybe they also need to see the numbers and see how much money they can earn. Maybe that's going to welcome them.
We're all globalized, including entertainment. Do you think the music industry discriminates against Korean and Asian-born and raised artists?
Not everybody, but yes.
Yeah.
Not everyone discriminates, but there's a lot of people there that discriminate. Unfortunately, but yes, I think it's going to be very naive of us to deny that. We don't have to go far, right? Within here, we all live here, and there's still discrimination, and we're all living here. So imagine when somebody comes in who doesn't live here now. So it does happen. Not everybody though.
Yeah, there are some good door openers.
Yeah.
And you can't deny how catchy. You just can't.
Yeah.
So if you were to recommend a different Asian artist other than BTS, who would you recommend to us?
So maybe from Japan, I'll recommend Bump of Chicken. They're a band. They're just, I can't classify their music like a genre. There's no specific genre because they're just so different. And also they're so poetic, and they're such great storytellers in their music. Like if you, their latest single was Chronostasis or Chronastasis, I don't know how to pronounce it. That even I had to look up what it meant. And the meaning of the song is just as deep as the word, as the title of the song. So apparently Chronostasis is that moment. Now I can't explain it. So if you're looking at something and you shift your gaze to something else, you turn your head to another direction. The moment when you turn your head to when you turn it already to that new object, there's that moment that you do not see.
The in-between.
The in-between. Because your brain makes up for it, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be, you're going to get dizzy if it allows you to see. So what it does is that in that split second of a time, the brain supplies it with another image.
Interesting.
So that you don't see that fast motion.
Oh, wow.
So they talked about that. And I was like, what the hell would you want to talk about more? I didn't even know about that.
Yeah.
But then apparently that phenomenon in our brain, we replicate that in our life. When we make the transition from one life to another, we either extend the previous life so that during that moment when you're transitioning, it's not such a culture shock for you, or you immediately adopt to the new event so that you don't get culture shock.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And you can apply it to losses of your loved ones and that. But anyway, that's a whole thesis. That's Bump of Chicken for you. That's for Japan. I'd say Gem for China. She's a female, probably the best-selling female artist in Asia right now.
Oh, cool.
And she's such a beautiful storyteller. She's a lyricist, such a great lyricist, poet, basically.
Yeah.
From the Philippines, of course, I'll say SB19. They're the most popular band right now, among others. We have another singer. It's Bugoy Carino. Such beautiful. Just check him out. He has such a beautiful and effortless.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, it's effortless. He can belt out an Adele without having to prepare for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Without thinking about it.
Yeah, but there's a lot more. But those are the 3 that I would recommend.
Love that. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll check them out.